Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We are told here in the United States of America that each person's culture or heritage should be respected because it is a treasure. It's a positive influence to the American experience, and other garbage words like this. Therefore, if I like to do this kind of thing, I should be allowed to do it because it's my culture and that it's paramount. Therefore, they should not try to change it because they teach us here that all cultures are equal, equally important, and equal in value. All right, now this is what I say. But on the other hand, if you don't accept something imposed on you, culturally or socially, then you are a bigot, or you are a I don't know, anti this, or you are a phobe, or you are trans trapalap, you are something that's bad. Right? Phobic, not trans, phobic from phobia. Anyway, so they call, or ist, and so on. They call you all kind of names if you try to keep your values intact. They call you a caveman, a backward, this, and try to all this garbage. So it's a lie. It's a lie. They try to impose on us certain kind of behavior, and they change our culture because they said so. And if we don't, we're bad dudes. Now that spreads, unfortunately, to other countries, and they try to spread it to Ukraine, to Eastern Europe, which are still those nations want to preserve their culture, their traditions. But they're called by the enlightened from the Brussels or from Washington, D.C., or other New York City and other garbages. They are called, oh, you're backward. You're just, what's going on over here? Now they try to do the same thing. They try to do the same thing to the Russians. And the Russians refuse to do that. They have their culture, like the Hungarians too, or the Romanians or the Poles, and they want to keep it intact, or should be in charge of their own culture. The thing is, what do we have here? We have here an article where we have a little problem, which is the wounded soldiers, the Russian wounded soldiers, coming from the front, according to a governor. I think it's a governor of, what is it? Belgorod or St. Petersburg, Russia, who claims that meeting these wounded soldiers, they said that while they were fighting on the front, they saw gender-neutral toilets in Ukraine. And these guys say, what's going on here? Anyway, we have a traitor who tries to change, actually, the Russian culture by, I saw this in Romania as well, and in the United States as well. They are hating their culture and their country. They don't try to make it better. They point to certain things that maybe, not to make it better, to insult only. Now that's not productive. I mean, because you create hatred further down the line. So let's see this little article. And here it is from Ukrainska Pravda. It is from 14th of January 2024. Gender-neutral, quote-unquote, toilets in Ukraine cause outrage in Russia. Okay, well, that's their culture, so they say we don't like this kind of garbage. That's their choice. But no. And then it says, where 1 in 4 have no access to sewage system, adds Katerina Tsischenko. So Katerina Tsischenko feels that she needs to use this, which is a quote, actually, from a, suppose they call it lawmaker in St. Petersburg, a weasel. I don't know if he's Russian or not, or if he's a self-hating Russian, because he defends this thing right here, this thing pushed on us, all right, it's his counter-argument. Now, let me break the news for you a little bit. They're not related. It's just the guy wants to push in one direction, and he tries to shame a nation. I come from Romania. I never lived in a village, but I traveled through villages. I stayed in peasants' houses. Well, that's how we call them over there, peasants. We don't call them farmers because they don't want to be called farmers. Go and call a peasant in Romania, hey, you are a fermier. He's going to be, what the hell is that, fermier? I'm a tsaran. I'm a peasant. It's not a derogatory term. I mean, some people might use it as a derogatory term, but that's a different story. We have peasants living in the village, and then we have the city dwellers. Okay, that's the way it is. In the cities, you have sewage, obviously. In some villages, I can't tell you the proportion, but I know that there are villages in Romania who have outhouses. They don't have sewage. They go in the back of and they take a shit over there. Some of them nowadays have peasants. They brought all kind of infrastructure and so on. Some of them have some septic tanks or some other forms. But there are people who don't have sewage, like sewage. Okay. And I come from Romania, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is for Ukraine and Russia. They also have peasants, as have the Hungarians, the Bulgarians, and others. They call them peasants. So with this guy to say, when 1 in 4 have no access to sewage system. Okay, let's see what exactly this garbage of a person has to say. St. Petersburg governor Alexander Beglov has claimed after meeting with wounded soldiers, Russian soldiers, that they knew what they were fighting for after seeing toilets, and I'm quoting, for gender-neutral people in Ukrainian schools. Now, is he lying? I don't know. The point is, she, Katerina Tsushchenko, does not dispute that. And she's a Ukrainian, writing for Ukrainska Pravda. So she doesn't dispute that right here, for instance. This is what I care. She doesn't dispute that. So she's okay with that. And this one, again, she could have said, no, that's not true what this guy said, this Alexander Beglov, who's the guy in center right here. This is the governor of St. Petersburg. So, and I'm quoting. So they claim soldiers there knew what they were fighting for the seeing toilets for gender-neutral people in Ukrainian schools. And I'm quoting this guy. Those who went through the Ukrainized version of Donbass with an assault rifle in their hands are well aware of what we are fighting for. These guys have seen toilets in schools where instead of 2 rooms for girls and boys, there are 3 rooms for girls, boys, and gender neutrals. They don't need to be told what kind of values we stand for. Perfectly valid. That's our values, and screw you guys, we don't want that. Do we? Let's have a referendum. Oh no, they don't want to dare to have a referendum here, because they know if they're going to conduct a referendum here, they're going to lose. They know that. So they change our culture, our traditions, our way of life, our civilization through the, how do you call them? Elected representatives. They don't dare to make it. Now, BBC News Russia reported that Beglov's remarks have surprised both supporters and opponents of Russia's war against Ukraine. Really? How many? Okay, this is propaganda right here from BBC. How many? Surprised both supporters. How many? Did you take a poll or of opinion? No, you're lying. Or if you don't lie, you say, well, supporters. How? 1, 2 that said something in the media? And that's how you base your... have surprised both supporters and opponents. Always ask these questions. Emil, we are concerned. We received some complaints against you. How many? 5. I don't give a fuck. How many you work here? 3,000? And you got 3 complaints? Well, when you get about 150, maybe we're talking. Q. I'm just saying. Okay, the same with life. There were some people say, in the media, when you have an interview with someone or debate, some people say that what you say is very hurtful. My question is, how many? They're going to say, I don't know, because they don't know. How many? And they're going to say, many. How many? Do you know how many? No. Then how do you know that many? Do you know them personally? If you know them personally, you know exactly how many. So you're a fucking liar. The same with these guys. Both supporters and opponents, they may create opinion, shape opinion. This is what BBC did. Opponents, no, they're not surprised by both. Yeah. Boris Vishnevsky, this is the weasel. A lawmaker from St. Petersburg reminded people that according to Rosstat, 1/4 of Russians do not have centralized sewage systems and use cesspools and septic tanks. Why would you need to do this? This is like taking a shit on your family, on your father, on your mother, on your grandfather or your grandmother? Oh, that means they should not talk about it. They should be okay with the neutral, the gender neutral. What does that mean? Did you have you don't have a pussy or a cock? Is that what it is? Or you have both? The sooner we get out of this delusional reality, for the reality that we live in, experience, then we're going to be back on track with our civilization. Until then, these guys are going to try to drag us down. Now we're going to have what? Fur? With a furry idiocracy now, fad. I personally know someone who is into furry. Is that how you call it? I think so. She is in a furry. She's a she. She went to being a he, somehow identified as a he, changed certain things, not everything. Over there, she's a minor child. And now she is into furry. Ooh, 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 ah, oh, oh, ah. Not that kind, but hum, woof, woof. It's crazy. Or meow. I'm not certain exactly which one is furry. Meow or whatever it could be, because I didn't talk to her. I just found out from other sources, direct sources, okay? I know the person, so... The so-called protection of children from the so-called protection of children from Western influence. There's not Western influence. We are influenced by these guys. If I'm considered a Westerner, I go to Eastern Europe or I go to Asia, I don't represent, well, yeah, Emil is the one that's going to pee in whatever the tree. I don't support that. That's not my influence. That's not my culture. These guys are trying to change my culture. That's why it is a culture war here. And the strengthening of quote-unquote traditional values, which are, what the hell are those? Those are nations' values, nations' traditions, people's, tribes' traditions that you want to change. Why? Because you want to destroy them. Have been repeatedly cited by Russian politicians and officials as justification for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, I think that's a stretch right here. When Russian dictator, he's a dictator now, Putin, this guy, sometimes he's a dictator, sometimes he's a strongman, sometimes he's a president, make up your mind. So that tells me that Katerina, whatever her name is, Katerina is doesn't like Putin, or she thinks that if she kisses someone else's in the editing room, she's going to get a promotion. When Russian dictator Putin announced the illegal annexation of 4 Ukrainian oblasts in September 2022, he devoted part of his speech to accusations against Western countries where he claims, and I'm quoting, perversions are being imposed on children. Do we want to have parent number 1, number 2, number 3 instead of mom and dad? Here in our country is Russia. In Russia, have they gone completely mad? I watched that, and that's exactly what you said. And that's it, call it. What's a perversion? If you look at the word perversion, that's a deviance from normality. It comes from Latin. Go and check the how do you call it, the etymology of the word. Go and look for it. Perversion is a deviance. That's what I say. You're a deviant. You're out of normality. What's normality? In a group, what people do in general, from general rule. That's what it is. If you're outside, you're a deviant. You deviate. That's perversity. I can find the word perversity. So don't get too. And he calls it perversion, are being imposed on children. Anyway, in December 2022, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and that's again, I heard that say, complained about the gender-neutral toilet in Sweden. And I heard them too on YouTube. You can see, and I saw him saying, and I'm quoting Lavrov. I asked where the toilet was. I was shown a door marked with the letters WC. That's how we do it in Romania and other countries. Is WC. I asked, is this for ladies or gentlemen? I was told we have everything shared. I didn't believe it, but it was true. You can't imagine how inhuman it is. It's just not human. I don't remember this part, but nevertheless, I don't remember that. I remember everything else, what he said so far. I'm not trying to defend him. He's a big guy. I don't fucking have to defend him. In April 2022, after discovery of mass looting by the Russian military on the occupied territories of Ukraine, President Zelensky said that the Russians' dream is to steal a toilet and die. Now, you look at it different. Now, Zelensky is the Zelensky Stein. Not even has to do much with Taras Shevchenko, if you know who that is. My Ukrainian friends and probably the Russians know. And people who read poetry. He's their national poet, and Ukrainian, mind you. Like Zelensky and Zhmihal and Yermak and what's his name? Now we got Umerov, changed the other guy, Reznikov. So yes, my friends, she didn't deny it. The Katerina Tutchenko, whatever her name was, she didn't bother to dispute it. And she calls Putin a dictator. That tells you what? I don't know where she was educated, but she really wants to be an American or a German or something like that, because she sees them as being, I will guess, better. You don't believe me? Well, you gotta rub shoulders a little bit with these people and realize how they revere these guys without even knowing them. But by knowing them, by interacting, you realize that, hey, maybe not. Why I tell you, when I was in Romania, in the communist Romania, you know, when we're thinking about a Western German or American, oh my God, like it was a guy coming from the space, something. And yes, they were different. Sometimes different as a good thing, sometimes different as a bad thing, but not better in certain ways. They were in some certain ways, obviously, and that's why, for instance, should I say it? That's why I think that United States is the greatest country in the world. But these guys are fucking it, and I don't like that a bit. That's why you see me here, partly. Okay? Still, I believe that, and I don't like the way it's going down. So when I see this kind of articles with those guys in Ukraine, which are the same as Romanian, the Russians, the same mentality, oh my God, we gotta borrow everything. This guy comes from the West. No, not everything that comes from the West is good. Not everything that comes from the East is good. Be a little bit more discriminating against idiotic perversities. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.